The universe was sick. And on that day, before a throne made of dead stars, Emperor Karzul announced the cure. The surrounding galaxies trembled under his command. From the center of the Via Tenebra, where time bent and light curved, he watched worlds being erased one by one. No explosion, no fire, just silence. The kind of silence that buries civilizations. Humanity is not a species. His voice echoed through the void. It's an infection. And as the echo spread through the command satellites, each subjugated race bowed. The Zorath Empire had dominated 80% of the known cosmos, and now the very fabric of existence was under their authority. The battlefront was not made of soldiers, but of unlit skies. The army did not march, it consumed. In the black crystal corridors of his flagship, the Eternal Hive, the Emperor observed the hologram of a single blue dot, shining in a distant galaxy. A forgotten, small, irrelevant world. The Earth. It all started there, he muttered, and it will all end where it began. The counselors around him were agitated, beings of 10,000 forms, breathing gases, light or pure energy. One of them, the Archon of Sangri, bowed before him. Your Majesty, the surviving humans are scattered, without a home, without fleets, without strength. Karzul replied with an icy calm. A virus doesn't need force, he just needs will. The Emperor's eyes, liquid orbs of gold and shadow, turned to the horizon of plasma before the throne. There, suspended among fiery nebulae, was the final pulse, a living machine the size of a solar system, built to erase consciousness from the entire universe in a single breath. The cosmos will be cleansed, and when the last human memory is gone, the fever will cease. But not everyone believed in the cure. In the captive fleets, among the wreckage of human colonies, a prisoner was alive, trapped in a living ship, chained to the very structure of the biomechanical creature. Commander Lucan Rowe, the last captain of the solar fleet. Inside the organic cell, the air pulsed, and the wall whispered in a language that was not made of sound. You shouldn't exist. Lucan opened his eyes, even weakened, with metallic wires running through his skin. There was something in his eyes that no cosmic engineering could erase. Challenge. He looked up at the living ceiling of the cell and replied in a low voice, "Then put me out." On the other side of the galaxy, the Emperor sensed something. A vibration, a distant echo, a microscopic resistance in the web of his own creation. The collective mind of the surveillance machines recorded the event as a persistent emotional anomaly. But Karzul understood what it was. It was hope. And for him, hope was the deadliest form of the human virus. Prepare the final judgment, he said, rising from his throne. The universe will be purified, and the last man, forgotten among the stars, will be the first to fall. In the confines of the living prison, Lucan felt the ground vibrate. The ship changed course. Something in his instinct, older than any logic, said that it was not the end. It was the beginning. The sound that woke him up was not sound. It was a pulse, like the beating of a giant heart, resonating inside a body that wasn't his. Lucan Rowe opened his eyes, and for a moment he thought he was inside a dream. The walls breathed. The ceiling moved with the slowness of a colossal organism, emitting a bluish glow that resembled the bottom of the sea. But there was no water. There was no air. The ship he was in was alive. Translucent cables ran through his arms, pulsing with liquid light. Each pulsar sent a wave of pain that burned to the soul. In the center of the cell, a crack opened, and a voice, metallic and organic at the same time, whispered, "The human awakens. The host is conscious." Lucan tried to get up, but his body was unresponsive. His legs trembled, his mind swirled in spirals of memories. Explosions, orders, radio screams. The last thing he remembered was the flash in space, and silence. "Where am I?" "Inside me," replied the voice. "I am Vora, cell of the Eternal Hive, and you, human, are my prisoner." Lucan forced the biological moorings. They cheered, as if laughing at him. Study. Study? The Emperor seeks to understand the anomaly. The human mind resists extinction. Even dead, she continues to dream. Even if it is erased, it tries to be reborn. Lucan bit his lips until the blood flowed. And he thinks he can erase that. He doesn't just think so. He built the pulse for that. When it is activated, the entire universe will return to the state before consciousness. The ship pulsed. The floor lit up, and in front of it appeared a living panel, projecting stolen memories. Images of Earth, ocean, blue sky, children running under the wind. Everything was so real that Lucan smelled salt and dust. These, are they my memories? They are fragments. The Emperor believes that the cure for the cosmos lies in understanding the contagion of humanity, which made a fragile species cross time and emptiness, which gave you the idea of eternity. Lucan smiled, even in chains. And you? Do you believe that? The voice hesitated. I was raised to obey, but since I touched your mind, I've been feeling something I can't process. Fear. No. So it's hope. The silence that followed was almost sacred, and inside the living ship, something has changed. The walls began to project figures, constellations, faces, memories. Vora was accessing his consciousness, but something was coming back to her. The virus is active, the ship whispered, confused. The emotional infection spreads. Lucan felt the grip of the bonds loosen. Small cracks began to appear on the surrounding organic surface. For the first time, he realized that he could feel the ship, as if its fibers responded to his will. What? Life trying to escape. The wall before him slowly opened, revealing the creature's inner corridor. Vora hesitated. If you leave, we die together. Lucan took a deep breath, his voice hoarse but firm. Then maybe it's time for you to learn what it means to be human. And he took the first step. On the other side of the galaxy, the Eternal Hive's sensors have set off alerts. Emperor Karzul looked up from his throne as the hologram lit up before him. Your Majesty, said the Archon, Prison Ship 07 has suffered a neural breakdown. Prisoner Lucan Rowe is active. Karzul smiled for the first time in millennia. So the virus decided to fight. Perfect. The surrounding stars seemed to vibrate, as if the cosmos itself had just awakened. The throne of Karzul was not in a palace. It was inside an imprisoned star. The fire of the frozen supernova served as energy, light, and prison. The incandescent heart of the galaxy bent to the Emperor's will. There, the air trembled with each breath. Thousands of silhouettes floated around, their genetic counselors, beings made of flesh, metal, and light. All bowed before the Emperor of Healing. In the center of the room, a projection pulsed, a three-dimensional map of the cosmos. Each bright spot represented a system of life. Millions of them had already been scratched with traces of shadow. The contagion advances, said the Archon of Sangri, his voice vibrating like scratched iron. Even after the purification of 4 galactic arms, there are signs of reinfection. Karzul bowed to the throne. His eyes, 2 liquid moons of gold and darkness, scanned the map as if observing a wound. The answer came from a softer voice. Different. Sarai, the Council's genetic scientist, is an alien with silver skin and eyes transparent as wet glass. Your Majesty, the origins of the contagion remain human. Always human. A murmur ran through the hall. Karzul stood, his shadow casting in all directions, covering the star's light. Humanity went extinct eons ago. Sarai kept his gaze steady, but the human mind survives on quantum resonances. Where there is will, there is presence. Where there is memory, there is rebirth. The Emperor approached. The incandescent ground molded under his feet. Are you saying that the infection persists by will? Not only that, she projected a hologram of blue energy, showing human forms mixed with alien genetic codes. We are descendants of what we try to eradicate. Silence. Heavy, deep, as if the whole universe had stopped to listen. The Archon stepped forward, furious.
Blasphemous lie. No pure form can come from contagion. Sarai maintained his stance. The data don't lie. The entire empire is built on human ruins. The Emperor sat down again, his gaze distant. For a moment, the golden glow of his eyes wavered. So the cure we seek, it's within us. Sarai hesitated. Perhaps the universe does not need to be healed, Your Majesty. These words echoed like thunder in the star's core, but Kar-Zul's face hardened. The compassion lasted less than a flash. To remember is to perpetuate the error. The infection needs to be erased, even from us. He reached out, and the hologram before him turned to fire. The image of the cosmos began to dissolve until only one point of light remained, the same one he had observed hours earlier, the Earth. If the virus inhabits even the purest of beings, then there is no purity. The cure is forgetting. Sarai lowered her head, but inside her something was awakening. The idea that perhaps humanity was not a disease, but a symptom of the universe itself trying to understand itself. When the council dispersed, the Emperor remained alone. Cosmic silence surrounded him, broken only by the distant sound of worlds being erased. He looked down at his hands and saw in them tiny cracks of light, as if something ancient buried in his DNA was trying to escape. Humans, whispered. They don't die. They come back. And in the distance, inside a living ship lost in the void, Lucan Rowe also muttered the same words, unaware that, at that moment, he and his enemy shared the same thought. The living ship breathed at long, heavy intervals, like an ancient being trying to stay awake. Lucan Rowe walked through the pulsating hallways, feeling each step echo through the metallic flesh of the structure. The air was warm and humid, like the inside of a creature, and in a way, it was just that. He had left behind what was left of the biological currents, and now he was exploring the living archives that pulsated beneath the ship's hull. The ship's intelligence, Vora, watched in silence. Since the escape from the cell, she had not tried to stop him. She seemed curious, maybe even divided. "Why don't you stop me?" asked Lucan, sliding his hand over the luminescent walls. "Because I want to understand what you are," Vora replied, her voice vibrating throughout the hallway. "You are not like others. You think outside the body. Daydream." Lucan stopped in front of a circular camera. In the center, a sphere floated, made of pure light, surrounded by streams of golden energy. It was the Codex of Origin, the central genetic archive of the Empire. But something was wrong. As he watched the projections of species forming in holograms all around, Lucan noticed a pattern. All of them, at some microscopic point in their genetic sequence, had something familiar. Human. He approached. The hologram reacted to his touch, expanding into a spiral of light that enveloped the entire room. Thousands of civilizations danced before him, connected by golden threads. And in the center of the web, a symbol, a double spiral, identical to human DNA. "Vora, what is this?" "Which has always been hidden," she replied, her voice almost reverent. "The first civilization in the universe was human." Lucan recoiled, incredulous. "That is impossible." "No, it is inevitable. Each species in the cosmos carries fragments of its code. Not only were you born out of the universe, you sowed it." The images multiplied, revealing ancient worlds, ruins of human cities on forgotten planets, buried temples, fossilized bodies, monuments pointing to the sky. And among the projections, a familiar face, that of Emperor Kar-Zul, identical to a human, only evolved. Lucan felt his blood run cold. He's one of us. A distant descendant, Vora said. The last one born of the original gene. He carries within himself the same fire that he tries to put out. Lucan leaned against the living wall, trying to breathe. His mind was spinning. If the Emperor was human, then all war, all extinction, was a cycle. Humanity was not being destroyed. It was going out and being reborn,
like a flame that burns its own oxygen. That's why the pulse doesn't work, he said quietly. He tries to erase what is at the base of everything. The entire universe is the memory of humanity. Vora remained silent for a moment. Then he spoke in a low, almost human tone. And if the cure that the Emperor seeks is himself? Lucan looked at the central light of the sphere. Inside it, an image flickered. The Earth, trillions of years ago, even before galaxies formed. And in the background of the sound, something like a heartbeat, regular, constant, alive. Then perhaps the universe has never ceased to be human, he murmured. On the other side of the galaxy, Emperor Karzul felt a spasm, a mild pain at the base of his skull. Within his blood, the golden particles began to react. The forgotten DNA was waking up. The artificial star where Emperor Karzul resided did not revolve around anything. She was the center of everything, a motionless heart in the middle of the void, powered by bent gravitational fields and streams of living energy. There, in the throne of fire and shadow hall, the Emperor waited. The golden glow of his eyes flickered as the liquid crystal walls reflected distorted images of galaxies breaking up. And before him, a crack opened, bringing a man shrouded in bluish light. Lucan Rowe, the last awakened human. Two extremes of the same origin, now facing each other. The creator and creation, illness and cure. For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath. Then the virus came to me, said the Emperor, his voice echoing like the roar of 1,000 storms. Lucan stepped forward, his body exhausted, his eyes burning with conviction. I have come to remind you of what it is to be alive. The throne shook. The Emperor stood up, immense, covered in armor made of living energy. Each step left trails of golden light on the ground. Life is contagion, human. It is multiplication without purpose. The universe suffers. I am the medicine. Lucan stared at him. No, you are the symptom, the reflection of all that he fears in himself. For a second, Karzul's gaze wavered. Behind him, the core of the star pulsated in an irregular rhythm, as if the cosmos itself reacted to man's words. You're made of the same gene you call infection, Lucan continued. You can erase everything, but you can't erase what formed you. The Emperor approached, and the heat was unbearable. Every word distorted the surrounding air. I am the end of mankind. Lucan replied firmly. No. You are proof that it never ended. The silence broke with a deep sound, the roar of the final pulse being prepared. On the ceiling, rings of energy swirled in formation, ready to release the wave that would erase all conscious matter from the universe. Sarai, the scientist, emerged from the shadows. His eyes, once cold, now trembled between faith and doubt. Your Majesty, if he is right, he will destroy the origin. The universe will not heal itself. It will die with you. Karzul turned slowly. Then let him die clean. Lucan moved forward. The light around him intensified, responding to his own biological pulse. The air smelled of iron and electricity. There is no cleanliness in oblivion. There is only emptiness. The two face each other. The distance between them pulsed with vivid gravity. For an instant, it seemed as if the entire star had curved around them. Lucan took it a step further. You are not the god who heals. You are the human who forgot. Sarai's voice broke the silence. Your Majesty, human blood runs in you. The cure you seek is not outside. It's in what you tried to erase. Karzul looked down at his own hands. In them, the golden glow now pulsed blue. Inside, something was screaming, something ancestral, memory. The throne began to crack. The core of the star reacted to the DNA that awakened within it. Lucan took a final step, his light merging with that of the Emperor. Do you want to heal the universe? Yes. Then remember that he was born of pain. The burst of energy that followed had no sound, only light, blue and gold, intertwined like blood and fire. The throne dissolved. The star began to collapse, and in the midst of the glare, two voices became one, a prayer and a surrender. If we are the virus, then let us be the beginning of the cure, the artificial star screamed. Their colossal rings swirled in disorder, spitting plasma in all directions. The final pulse, the living machine created to erase consciousness from the cosmos, had awakened, but not in the way the Emperor had planned. At the center of the vortex, Lucanro and Karzul were trapped in a pure gravitational field, light and shadow intertwining as matter and spirit. The Emperor's body burned with liquid gold, Lucan's in blue. Between them, the heart of the pulse vibrated like a newborn sun, unstable, furious, alive. You interfered with the code, Karzul roared. The machine no longer obeys. Lucan struggled to breathe. Every word was a spark, because she learned to feel. Containment systems collapsed. Thousands of Empire ships orbiting the star began to tear apart. The gravitational waves dragged everything, metal, light, and memory, into the core. From the upper laboratory, Sarai watched in silence, his face bathed in the glow of chaos. Her voice echoed through the neural channel. Your Majesty, the machine is absorbing consciousness, not just energy. She's remembering. Karzul gritted her teeth, the golden veins of her skin pulsing. Lucan, even wounded, smiled. You taught the universe to fear what it does not understand, but he learned to wait. The lights on the pulse began to change, from destructive red to gold, then to white, and finally to the deep blue of ancient human stars. Every particle seemed to sing, a sound that did not come from the air but from memory. It was the echo of all the voices that have ever existed. What are you doing? Cried the Emperor. Lucan looked at him, and for a moment the two reflected each other. No differences, no borders. Rewriting the end, Lucan raised his hands and touched the core of the machine. Immediately, a network of light spread out, thin wires connecting every corner of the star. Human consciousness, accumulated over the ages, flowed into the pulse. It was more than energy. It was a memory, pain, love, hunger, hope. The universe began to vibrate in response. Space curved, entire planets crumbled into glowing particles, and time has stopped obeying. Karzul screamed, but his voice dissolved. Inside his body, the same human code now pulsated, multiplying. The virus consumes me, Lucan replied, calmly and painfully mixed. It's not a virus, it's life. The Emperor fell to his knees, and for the first time he cried. Golden tears that floated in the air and turned into small stars. He looked up at Lucan with a glimmer of peace. What if I'm just part of this? Lucan smiled. Then welcome to the rest of us. The end pulse has reached its limit. The light exploded, passing through entire systems, engulfing constellations. But where there was supposed to be destruction, there was recreation. Galaxies reorganized themselves as cells. Space became a womb. And at the center of it all, two beings, human and Emperor, dissolved into pure consciousness. The universe does not die, whispered Lucan's voice. He dreams. Sarai from the laboratory saw the flash expand until it swallowed everything. But before the darkness reached her, she heard one last transmission. Lucan's voice, calm, serene, eternal. If being human is being a virus, then let the whole universe become sick with light. And then silence. The star has transformed into something new, a luminous heart beating in the void. And from chaos, a new cosmos was born. The silence after the explosion was not absent. It was plenitude, as if the universe, after billions of years, had finally breathed. Sarai opened his eyes. It floated in the void, or at least he thought it was emptiness, until he realized that the space around him pulsed in colors that had never existed before. Nebulae and shades of gold and blue danced slowly, like living veils. And among them, newborn stars whispered, in a human voice. She looked at her own hands. The skin glowed with a pattern of light, as if blood were made of constellations. And then he heard a voice, soft, familiar. "You're listening, aren't you?" It was Lucan Rowe, but he had no body. The voice came from everywhere, from the particles, from the energy, from the memories. The pulse did not destroy. He rewrote it. Sarai spun slowly, tears glistening in zero gravity. "Where are you?" "In everything," the universe now thinks. As a human, she felt a vertigo. The entire cosmos seemed alive, connected and conscious, and at the center of every atom, the echo of a memory. Laughter, voices, the sea crashing against the rocks of the old earth. It had spread. "Karzul?" she asked, with a tone of fear and respect. The answer took an instant. He understood in the end. Now it is part of the whole. The cure. It was to remember. Sarai put his hand to his chest, his heart beat in sync with that of the new stars. For the first time, the cosmos did not seem empty. It felt like home. She began to walk on a field of luminous dust that was solidifying beneath her feet. Planets were forming, not by chance but by will, the will to exist, to continue the human dream. "Lucan," she whispered, "what happens now?" Now, the story begins again. But this time, there will be no gods trying to heal creation. Just begin trying to understand it. The glow around her began to intensify. From the depths of the light, human forms were outlined, silhouettes made of pure energy, each carrying fragments of the ancient humanity. Men and women from all eras, recreated in essence. Sarai understood. The new universe was infected with soul. She looked up. On the cosmic horizon, an entire galaxy rotated slowly, and in the center of it was a symbol. Two intertwined spirals of light, the same pattern as human DNA, but now pulsating on a universal scale. "The universe is human," she murmured, "and the human is eternal." Lucan laughed, a laugh made of stellar wind and memories. Eternity has always wanted to feel fear, love, and pain. She just needed someone to teach her. Sarai smiled. He walked to the edge of a cliff of light and watched the birth of a new sun. Her reflection flickered on the glowing surface, and for a moment, she swore she saw Lucan's face next to hers. "Goodbye, Sarai." "No, Lucan. Welcome back." And with that, she took the first step toward the new world, the first human planet in a new cosmos. The entire universe pulsed in response, like a heart that finally understood why it was beating. Time, if it still existed, was no longer a line. It was a circle, and somewhere in this circle, between before and after, the universe opened its eyes. From the heart of the new cosmos, Lucan's light pulsated like an ancient memory. She traveled through newborn galaxies, crossed golden nebulae, and mingled with new stars. Every glow, every beat, every sound carried an echo. Humanity. Worlds were formed from this vibration. Planets with living seas, blue atmospheres, and spiral-shaped continents all carried traces of the same primordial DNA. And wherever there was breathing, there was something familiar. Curiosity, fear, faith. The human infection had won. The whole universe now dreamed as a man. On the surface of the first of these worlds, Sarai walked alone. The ground was soft, shining beneath his feet, and the sky looked like a living painting. She felt the wind touch her skin, but she knew that wind wasn't coming from a planet. It came from the very heart of the universe. His. "Lucan," she whispered. The sound came back as a soft but real echo. "I'm here. I always have been. The universe is just what we feel together." Sarai looked up and saw the sky opening up in light. Millions of small luminous fragments crisscrossed the firmament, pieces of old souls, memories, and thoughts. Each particle brought a story, each one a name. She smiled. The cosmos was no longer empty. It was full of voices. In the following ages, entire civilizations would emerge, different in form, but all born of the same origin. Beings made of crystal, of steam, of light, but who would love, dream, and destroy themselves as humans. And among the stars, there would always be a sound, a noise that no distance would silence. We remember. The echo of creation spread like a prayer. And as the universe expanded, that prayer became rhythm, and rhythm became song. The song of humanity. At some point, where light and dark met, something began to glow. A new star. Golden and blue, pulsating, alive. The first races to see it would give it a name, the Star of Lucan, and the priests of the new cosmos would tell stories about the man who taught the universe to feel. They said that when the silence became unbearable, they could hear his voice, an ancient whisper coming from the heart of the light. Life is not perfect, it is persistent, and as long as there is remembrance, there will be humanity. Sarai walked to the top of a hill and looked up at the sky. A tear flowed, dissolving into the air like stardust. She closed her eyes and felt it, the beating of the universe. It was the same sound he had heard in the living ship, the same echo of the pulse. There was peace, the cosmos breathed, and in infinite space, the singing of millions of worlds began to rise, merging into a single melody, a hymn made of human memories, traversing time and matter. The universe has not been healed, said the ancient voice. He learned to live with the disease and to call it love. And so, under Lucan's star, the new cycle began. Not a paradise, not a cure, but a living, imperfect, eternal creation, made in the image of all that man was and what the universe has always wanted to be, human. Maybe we are the mistake that the universe has chosen to love. Perhaps we are the reminder that even stars can have souls. If you also believe that human light never goes out, sign up and continue this journey through the stars.